about the Peacemaker finale. Okay, so I shouldn't set it up like that, but since since this was the highlight of that episode, I'll have to do that. But yeah, okay, so let's talk about the finale first of all. I thought the show was really good, really well made, really well written, and the performances of the cast was also pretty good. At first, I was not gonna watch it, although Peacemaker was my favorite character from the Suicide Squad, and he had the best scene in the movie. That was the trailers and the marketing and stuff didn't get me interested, and I was probably gonna skip this show if I hadn't heard good things about it and stuff, right? So either way, I just thought since they decided to release three episodes at once, I decided to give it a shot, and I didn't like the first episode that much. It took me some time to get into it, but by the end of the third episode, I was totally into it, and I liked what I was seeing. The characters building up and stuff was pretty good, and the world building also was pretty amazing because this feels like a proper DCEU movie, not just some standalone stuff, you know? And we always like that more when there are actual shared cinematic universe stuff happening within shared cinematic universe movie or show. And I really appreciated that, and I thought that was very interesting that every single episode has something of that sort in um in either dialogue or some posters or some behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, overall the story was pretty good, the acting was pretty good, the characters were amazing, the chemistry was pretty good, the writing was also pretty good, and I am actually really looking forward to season 2, which has been greenlit thanks to HBO Max and James Gunn and all that. But the second season, every single episode is going to be written and directed by James Gunn, so that's going to be interesting. So I'm really looking forward to that. But let's talk about the actual cameo. So I don't know if anyone from our audience right now hasn't seen it yet, but I'm pretty sure everyone has seen the cameo on Twitter at least. But yeah, um, the Justice League had a cameo in the finale. So I've seen some people really hate that, thinking that it was cringe and stuff, but most of those people are just people who saw the scene out of context. They didn't see the whole show. They don't know what's going on. They don't know why they showed up, and they don't know the meaning of the dialogue that was in the scene, and stuff like that. So I can see why people are hating it because of that, but that's totally unfair, I feel. But yeah, apart from that, I love the cameo. You know me, and we both had a lot of discussion on this show as well about our frustrations with the DCU not having the actual actors doing the cameos in the other movies. When they look, it's one thing to not have a cameo at all, like Wonder Woman 84 didn't have any cameo, right? And that was fine. But if you are making an effort to bring in a cameo, don't do Headless Superman, don't do some random non-Jared Leto Joker in a background when you clearly see his face. It's not Jared Leto. Just don't do that stuff, right? So I actually really really hate that, especially when the MCU keeps giving us everything that the fans want, and they keep, even for the smallest of things, they keep bringing the actual actors for the cameos. That's the way to do a cinematic universe. That's how it works. So I was really pissed at the DCU not doing that and stuff. But finally, after years, after like 2016 was the last time when we had that in Suicide Squad, when obviously Flash and Batman showed up, right? And we can say kind
Weird.
of that the 2017.
Weird. So annoying. Like
Yeah,
6 years it took for a
six
proper cameo.
years, yeah, dude. But yeah, we can say that kind of Wonder Woman also did that by having Ben Affleck's voiceover and stuff. It was kind of that, but he didn't actually show up. But I still appreciate that they kept it intact. But yeah, regardless of that, from then to now, this is the first time we had an actual cameo of a main Justice League member on a TV show. That's pretty huge. And Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller both showed up. And we even had Superman and Wonder Woman, but we didn't have Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot for reasons we already know. And apparently, there was gonna be Batman and Cyborg, and James Gunn actually filmed it. So, but
Yeah.
Warner Brothers just decided to remove them because so the reason there was that James Gunn actually had these characters written in the script, but and he submitted those scripts to Warner Brothers and they agreed to the scripts. So James Gunn went and shot the scene with Batman and Cyborg, and then Warner Brothers saw the scene after shooting it and finishing it, and they said no, take him out. If you
That's why there's such a big gap in space between the characters there.
Yeah, there is. But I still appreciated, look, even without those two, I still appreciated the scene a lot because this is something that I've been wanting to see for such a long time. And finally, we got to see that. And I'm really excited to see that. And it's also perfectly done because it's not like they came in and saved the day, which would have been cool to see, but not actually good for the show or for the characters. This show was mainly a Peacemaker show, and even in that scene, it was Peacemaker who had the upper hand. So he was basically walking through them and just saying fuck off and all that because they were late. And I understand the reasons for them being late, but really liked why they were late, and why he just got pissed off at them because they were late. That was really cool. But yeah, I really love the cameo. I think this actually sets a precedent for the future DCU movies and shows to, be like this or even better. But you cannot go back to faceless Cavill Superman or other person Jared Leto Joker. You just cannot. So this was a very good step in that a good direction, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. The Peacemaker season as a whole, for me, had a strong opening, middle, and ending. And I love the show. The week to week discussion was fantastic. I thought John Cena he's elevated as an actor under James Gunn for me on the dramatic side of things. As I've said countless times, my favorite scene from the Suicide Squad is when he kills Rick Flag in that scene of Peacemaker. What a joke! And James Gunn was able to craft and create a series based on that piece of dialogue, and he did it masterfully. And it's the most talked about show in the world. It's being watched. Season 2 is coming tonight. This show altogether was just fantastic, and it drops things in episode 1 and episode 2. And they're not people talk about James Gunn's humor and like he's just his style and stuff. He drops jokes in episode 1 and episode 2 that have payoff in the season finale, and you realize, oh, that wasn't just a cheap gag. That actually was setting up this entire arc for this specific character. You had John Economos' character, Diebeard. That joke is set up in the early episodes. And then we get to see in episode 8, it's actually a big thing for him. And there's a big dramatic moment over that joke. That's brilliant writing right there. And then the Aquaman joke was in the opening scene of episode 1 about him and Fish and that rumor. And it comes full circle in episode 8. And the action was fantastic. I think even some of Zack Snyder's crew, stunt choreographers worked
Yeah.
on the move on the show.
Yeah.
And in the last episode, that action sequence was fantastic with the intro music over it. So the entire series for me was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And cannot wait for season 2. And I thought it was brilliant. And look, many fans they've shit on James Gunn since he came to DC. There's a number of reasons for it. One of them is because he's a Marvel director. Another one is they use his old tweets as an argument against him. And then they use his humor and his directing style as another thing as well. But I think there is a strong...
And they're also
not
mad
like
that
Gunn.
he's kind of the replacement
Yeah, and he's
director.
getting
Yeah.
creative freedom. Like they're saying, oh, James Gunn is getting the creative freedom. What makes him so special than Zack Snyder when Zack Snyder and David Ayer never got it? But I think this latest news proves that he doesn't get the full creative freedom that you might think, and that the Warner Bros. Executives are the only ones to blame. I've watched Shazam, Birds of Prey, The Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman 84, and I've liked those movies for what they are. Of course, they're not Man of Steel or Batman v Superman or Zack Snyder's Justice League. But if I went into those movies thinking, oh, I'm so angry right now, I wouldn't enjoy anything. So I go watch those movies and I try to enjoy them for what they are. But I have disagreements, I have criticisms. In Shazam was the headless cameo. I did not like it. I liked the movie. It was good. Didn't like that. Birds of Prey, I liked it for what it was. Should have had more Black Mass, maybe a little bit longer. And it should have been Jared actually popping up. You know, so I have problems and criticisms, but I can still enjoy those movies and like them for what they are, not for what they're not. But I will never blame Catty Yen or David Sandberg or Andy Muschietti or these guys because the Warner Brothers executives are the ones to blame for everything. It's not James Gunn's fault that he couldn't use the entire Justice League with all of the actors. It's the studio's fault. It's not David Sandberg's fault that Henry Cavill didn't pop up or Catty Yen because Jared Leto didn't pop up. Maybe they should have cut those scenes entirely.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to connect this universe. But the DC universe is a sandbox. And James Gunn should be able to avail of this entire sandbox and use whatever character actor he wants to set up his universe and connect it all together. The MCU has the Marvel sandbox, it has the Fox X-Men, it has the Sony Spider-Man universe, and Kevin Feige can touch each sandbox and pick what he wants. And that's what he's doing right now for Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home. He can choose and pick what he wants. James Gunn can't, and that's not his fault. If he really wanted to have the Justice League there, he wanted the Justice League. If he wanted each actor, he should have been able to have each actor there. But Warner Brothers have tarnished their relationships with Henry Cavill, with Ben Affleck, with Jared Leto, with Ray Fisher, with their talent, with their directors, Zack Snyder, David Ayer. Even Patty Jenkins went through a cut of her movie. The ending of Wonder Woman was changed. This has been happening for years, so I don't blame the creators at Warner Brothers at all. I blame the creatives, the executives, and the suits. I don't blame the directors or the writers. James Gunn was trying to make that scene as cool as possible.
This was literally a reward for fans because he didn't have to bring in Justice League in an unrelated Peacemaker show. There's no relation with the Justice League at all.
And he could have been sour as well at the abuse he gets online.
Exactly.
And said, I'm not going to use the Justice League, or I'm not going to connect this in any way. But he could. His sandbox was available to him, and he was only able to use 2 actors of 6 members of the Justice League. He was only able to use 4 characters of 6 of the Justice League. And he tried to make that as cool as possible with 2 silhouettes and 2 actors. And I think it was pretty cool. I jumped off my seat when they all appeared. I thought it was really cool how it was done. The shot is amazing. And people are saying, oh, it's just JL-17.
They don't understand that movie if they say that.
I was watching Dave's channel, Film Junkie. I think Stephen Colbert said this, that many fans are using the excuse of stuff that they don't like, that it's Josh Whedon, esque. Whatever they don't like, it's JL-17.
Yeah.
I don't like that, it's JL-17. Well, that's not Zack Snyder, well, it's JL-17. Yeah. I'm seeing a big trend of this with every single DC project. You cannot like Peacemaker, that's fine, or James Gunn, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But have a substantial argument as why you don't like it and why you think it's poor. And that's okay. I've seen some good arguments out there why they don't like it. And that's fair. And I've seen people say, I don't like it, it's not for me, but I'm glad people are enjoying it. I prefer Zack Snyder's world. I don't really like this new thing. That's okay. But to use these arguments that it's JL-17 and Joss Whedon-esque, that shot where the Justice League appear in that scene, it's more Zack Snyder-esque than it's Joss Whedon.
The colors too. There's not one shot like this in the entire Justice League movie. Yeah.
And the Aquaman suit that we got to see in Aquaman the movie, and Jeff Johns was a big writer on that movie and a big input. The Aquaman shot in Peacemaker, I would argue, was a better shot than the entire shot of that suit in Under One, and the color grading they used there and stuff, and the humor, and I think it hits a little bit harder in this, and I think that scene is it's fantastic for what it is. Now the scene isn't perfect is all 6 members of the Justice League with the actors. That's perfect. But that's not James Gunn's fault. That's the executive's fault. And James Gunn's trying to make this as cool as possible for everybody. And I think he did a pretty good job. Maybe he could have just had the two actors there and not include Wonder Woman. But the thing is, if he had just had Ezra and Jason, people would be going crazy saying, the haters would be saying, why isn't the entire Justice League there?
It wouldn't feel like Justice League
like,
if there's no Superman. It's just as simple as that.
And like if they're complaining that there's no Cyborg and Batman. Well, James Gunn excluded Batman and Cyborg because of what's going on with Ray Fisher and Warner Brothers. He shot the scene, and Warner Brothers made him take it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's a bias against Zack Snyder big time, and people like to ignore that Zack Snyder and James Gunn are friends. People like to ignore that Zack Snyder cast Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa. They decided and wanted to do this scene with James Gunn, and Zack Snyder's crew. Some of his crew worked on this show as well, and they're working on the Flash movie.
And all this stuff isn't our theory or our speculation. There's an interview out with James Gunn where all this is, stated. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think there's a big bias against James Gunn from people who love Zack Snyder die hard, and I love Zack Snyder as well. We all do. This is not. We want the 6 members of the Justice League, Casey. We want everyone there, but it's not James Gunn's fault. It's not our fault. It's the executives of Warner Brothers who have tarnished the relationships, and the reason why they can't all appear.
Yeah.
And you have these creators trying to do something cool. Was James Gunn trying to restore the Snyderverse in a way? Why was he trying to respect what Zack Snyder laid out?
This is the first time Justice League was used.
It's more respectful than it was in 2017 because they're poorly shot, poorly written, poorly presented. Batman, Superman, all of it was just terrible. Here, this shot is actually better than the entire Justice League 17 movie. And it's not even the real actors in the scene. There's silhouettes of Wonder Woman and Superman.
Yeah.
And they're better presented. So people just hate James Gunn. I'd like to bring up his tweets as an argument as well. And when you're talking about the current DCU, if you like Peacemaker, if you like Shazam, they talk about, what about Ray Fisher? You don't stand by Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher never told anybody not to watch any DC movie. He never told people to boycott. He never told people not to like it. The thing is, it's not the executives that is working every single day in this movie. They're not acting in this movie. They're not the reason. The actors and the crew are not the reason the relationship between Ray Fisher and Warner Brothers is the way that it is, and the way that Warner Brothers have handled him. It's not their fault. So why should we hold the entire cast and crew of the Flash movie accountable for something that rich guys in a suit are dictating from an office? I just don't understand it.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I faced a lot of shit online as well about all of
this.
And you know what? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I watched Peacemaker. I enjoyed it. I loved it. And I can't wait for season 2. And the thing is, Peacemaker was a hit, and it was a big thing. And the Justice League appeared. I thought it was pretty cool for what it was. Not perfect,
I saw some of the reactions online about this cameo, like out of our circles, like on YouTube. There, how people watch the entire episodes and stuff, the watch-alongs. And there was one video where they put together. How they put a compilation of other reactors on a particular scene. The last time I saw that was Luke showing up in Mandalorian, but this was for the Justice League, right? So everyone was so happy, and I've never seen these people in my life. I don't know who these people are. No. They have backgrounds of Marvel toys and stuff, and they're so happy seeing these characters.
Because it's cool.
Yeah.
I showed my brother this as well, and he's not a massive movie fan or anything. And I said, sit down and watch this. What do you think? So I press play, and Aquaman's walking, holding Hardcore, and next minute the Justice League appear, and he's like, "Holy shit, that's so cool!"
Yeah.
He even found it cool, And he was like, I was like, "What do you think about the actors not showing up?" And he says, "Well, it was still cool to see the actor who plays Aquaman and Flash interact. That was funny."
Yeah.
And that's what made the difference. Is the actual actors popped up.
Yeah.
And the Shazam and Birds of Prey didn't have that, and that's what's been missing. But to see the actors actually pop up and the way it was shot, it was presented really well, and the interaction was cool. And the joke about, I understand if you don't like the jokes that James Gunn has and stuff like that, but it actually suits the character of Peacemaker. If this series was about Bloodsport,
that joke wouldn't be there. Yeah,
that joke wouldn't be there. Bloodsport, say walking with Hardcore, it would have been a different interaction. You know, it wouldn't have been that. It's just Peacemaker is this vulnerable character that's messed up. He reads everything on the internet. He listens to rumors.
He is
It's who
immature.
he is. He's immature, and he hears this rumor and he believes it. And he's actually pissed off with Aquaman and the Justice League because the girl he likes, Harcourt, is badly injured. They were supposed to show up and help them because that was dropped earlier in the episode when Harcourt goes to Adebayo. Can you tell your mother to bring somebody to help us? And she rings Amanda Waller and she's like, can you get somebody like the Justice League to show up and help us? That was dropped.
That was in the morning.
They actually wanted,
and this is in the evening, and
they
they
wanted
didn't
to
show.
get over the Justice League.
And they didn't show
But,
up.
like, no, but it was dropped that they needed help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they needed actual help for this. And John Cena's Peacemaker was pissed off that they showed up late, and that was his way of getting at Aquaman. The same way as he got at John Economos' character about his dyed beard earlier in the season. He brings up the rumor, the insecurity that Aquaman might have about this rumor about him fucking fish, and then like that was the way it was presented. Was what was presented in episode 1. If you watch the show, but I understand if you don't like the humor, that's okay. I understand that if you have a problem with the humor, but then Ezra Miller responding to it saying, "Is it a rumor though?" You know, that was funny because that's just like a back and forth thing between friends, and people are saying, "Oh my God, James Gunn made a canon that Aquaman fucks fish," and I'm like, did the Joker make a canon that he jacks off Batman from behind? No, I don't. And then James Gunn even had to come out on the YouTube channel on the HBO Max podcast saying that this isn't canon, guys. It's just a joke because Peacemaker believed everything on the internet.
Yeah, he listed all the things that people would be mad about, like the Wonder Woman thing, the Flash thing, the Green Arrow thing, the Aquaman thing, and he listed all of them and said it's obviously not happening. It's not canon, but he doesn't have to say that. It's obvious. Right? But people don't see the show, right? They just see hate clips on Twitter and react.